Hi, this is Liv Morgan, and you are listening to No One Knows, a deep dive podcast into the mysterious death of Joann Matouk Romain. In episode 5, we talked about Ted Kalasa. And if you missed that episode, you're going to want to go back and listen. You're going to need to get up to speed on everything that we're going to be covering, because today we're jumping in on everything. Things are going to be heavy in this episode: phone records, depositions, and we're going to be talking about physical and emotional abuse. Viewer discretion is advised. It wasn't long after episode 5 aired that I received a message from someone who wanted to speak to me. They had heard the podcast through somebody had shared it with them, through the grapevine. And they had some information that they thought could be used to Joann's family. Oddly enough, the person that came forward to talk to me not only knew Ted and Ted's partner, Sydney. Remember, we spoke about Sydney and Ted on the last episode. But they also had information on Tim Matouk, and that's what we're looking for. Here is the interview with who we're going to call Frankie. Frankie's voice has been disguised to help protect their identity and to keep the integrity of the information they have given to us. Are you okay with being recorded and used for the podcast, but we could cover your identity and change your voice?
Yeah, that's fine, as long as you protect my identity, because I just think Tim has the potential to be very dangerous.
Yes, correct. Okay, so tell me a little bit what you can about you and how you've kind of come to know Sydney. And
Sydney came over from Canada and lived with my brother's best friend's family. Sid met Ted and then introduced us to Ted, and their relationship progressed rather rapidly. And then, we were friends. We did things together. The interesting thing is the 6 degrees of separation of what a small world this is. Mm-hmm. You had mentioned speaking to Tim's first wife. For a very long time, she put up with him having an open affair with a woman who lived around the corner from them in Harper Woods. Everybody knew about it. And it took her a long time to have the courage to get divorced. And with what I heard, her statement being that she was afraid of him, I recall that. It'd be interesting to hear her own account of what kind of person he is. She was scared of him for a reason. She stayed with him for a reason. She knew he was never going to stop cheating on her with this person.
So let's rewind. Let's go back to April 27th, 2015. This is a transcript of the testimony of Tim Matouk's ex-wife in the case of Romain versus Grosse Pointe.
Do you know a fellow by the name of Tim Matouk?
Yes.
And how is it that you know him?
I was married to him.
When is it that you got married to him?
1975.
I imagine you got divorced?
Yes.
When is it that you got divorced?
1999.
Do the two of you have any children together?
Yes.
How many children do you have together?
2.
How old are they?
32 and 29.
Have the two of you stayed in contact at all since 1999 until today?
I don't understand the question.
Do you still talk, or, there's different kinds of divorces. There are divorces where you never want to see or talk to the person ever again. And there are very amicable divorces where you go out to dinner every weekend. How would you describe your relationship with him after the divorce?
Not amicable. We talk on rare occasions.
When you talk, is there a reason necessitating the two of you to talk?
The boys, our children.
Your children, okay? So the two of you only talk. Is it fair to say that the two of you only talk when necessary?
Yes.
Has he ever talked to you? I will start with this. Are you familiar with a story that you may have seen on the news, you may have heard about it from other places, of Joann Matouk Romain?
Yes.
Do you have any idea who that lady is?
Yes.
Who is she to Tim, if you know?
His first cousin.
And how is she his first cousin?
Father's brother's daughter.
Do you know whether or not Tim had a relationship with her?
No.
You don't know whether or not they had a relationship or what kind of relationship they had.
What do you mean?
Well, do you know if he had a good relationship with her, bad relationship with her, only saw her at bar mitzvahs? I don't know if you guys do bar mitzvahs, but Tim's relationship to Joann Matouk Romain, if any, how would you describe it?
Amicable.
Did he ever tell you that? Or is that just what you were able to observe?
Is this when I was married to him?
Let's start with that.
Yes.
So he would tell you that he liked her?
Absolutely.
And what about after the divorce?
I don't know.
The two of you have never discussed her in any way?
After she passed, I told him I was sorry and he accepted that, but never really.
Did he ever say anything to you about being upset at her prior to her disappearing?
Before she disappeared?
Yes.
No.
What about after she disappeared?
I don't recall.
Do you recall whether he ever said anything to you about her after the disappearance, or was it just that one phone call? Sorry about that, and he accepted the apology.
Well, we didn't. I saw him at my son's house.
When was this?
Right after I can't really remember, to be honest with you.
After she had disappeared.
I told him I was sorry, and he said that she was upset. She wasn't stable.
I'm sorry, that
she wasn't stable.
That's what Tim told you?
No, it's from what I remember.
Oh, after she disappeared?
Right?
And who was he saying that to? Was he saying that to you, or was he saying that to your son?
To me, no, there was no one else there, just Tim and I.
So Tim said that Joann was unstable?
It was his thought that she was unstable.
Did he say why he concluded that?
No.
Did he explain what he meant by unstable?
No.
He didn't explain if it was mentally unstable or physically unstable or something else.
No.
So when he said this, was it just in passing or was everybody kind of talking about it? What was going on when this conversation came up?
It was him and I, and we were sitting on my son's back deck. He had just moved into his house, and it was just in passing. That's all it was.
Okay, and he said that he felt she was unstable. Did he say whether or not he wanted to tell the police that he thought she was unstable?
No.
Did you see anything about the disappearance on the news at the time?
Yes.
And this information that Joann was unstable, do you know if it ever got to the police?
No.
You don't know whether or not Tim ever told the police that she is unstable?
No.
Or if he said that he felt he should tell the police?
No.
He didn't indicate that he was going to tell the police that she was unstable?
No.
Would you describe Tim to be an angry person? When you were married to Tim, how would you describe him with regards to his anger and anger management or lack thereof?
I was married to him for a long time, so I don't know. I would say he could be angry.
What do you mean by that? Would he throw things when he was angry?
No.
Break things?
Yes.
Would he make threats or yell or anything else? Let me break it down. Would he yell and scream? At any point during the marriage, would he yell and scream out of anger?
Yes.
Would he ever, when he was angry, yell and scream and curse at you?
Yes, there's been a lot of changes, so what is the relevancy of me rehashing all this? That's what I want to know. As far as Joann?
Well, there is a purpose, or I wouldn't have dragged you out here to do this. But if you just answer the questions, you'll be on your way very quickly. The question was, when he would yell and scream and curse out of anger, would he yell and scream and curse at you?
Yes.
Would he call you bad names?
Yes.
What kind of things would he call you? You don't have to answer that. I'll move on. So he would call you. I'm not trying to make this painful for you, because you don't seem like you are enjoying this.
No.
About after the marriage, would the two of you ever fight after the two of you had been divorced?
Shortly after, but after that, no.
Would he ever threaten you after the divorce?
No.
Did he ever threaten you when you were married to him?
Yes.
Well, Has he ever threatened to hurt you or do anything that would inflict physical pain on you?
He made a threat, but he never did anything to me before we got divorced.
Have you ever heard him threaten or tell you that he threatened to make anybody disappear?
Made anybody disappear?
Yeah, that idea. Did he ever tell you that he threatened anybody like that? Or did you ever hear him threaten anybody with such words? Make you disappear, or make him disappear, make her disappear. Something about making a person disappear.
Making a person disappear?
Yeah.
No.
Did he ever threaten to kill you?
Yes.
So you found his girlfriend at your house, so he maced you?
Yes.
My heart sank when I read through her deposition for the first time. The thought of how many people have truly been hurt by Tim started to weigh so heavy on my mind. And despite almost a decade after getting divorced, the black and white writing clearly shows that she still found this extremely painful to discuss. I really took into consideration that this person was so close to him, and they could have probably a lot of insight into what they think that they could be capable of. But ultimately, we're all here asking the same question. Is Tim Matouk capable of murder? I believe anybody who puts out a threat about killing the mother of your children is probably capable of anything, as well as using physical and verbal violence against her. I considered contacting her, and in the end, I've decided against it. I'm really not in this field to further traumatize people and ask questions, bring up deep hurt. The actions of Tim Matouk have deeply hurt so many people. And I truly feel for her, and I could tell based on her deposition that she wasn't comfortable being part of it. Which is why I'm not going to interview her for now. But if any point down the road she'd like to talk to me, I am open for it. I'm assuming at this point she's probably been made aware of the podcast and all the things that we're doing. But I'm just not interested in bringing this back up for her to rehash. I think we have for now what we need from this deposition. Instead of reaching out to her, I did decide to call one of their sons. And the conversation lasted roughly about 2 minutes, and it didn't end so great. I just told him I was interested in gathering more information, talk about records, and give a platform for those who wanted to speak and give them an opportunity to do so. The phone call ended abruptly after asking him what I could do to help him feel comfortable to chat with me, whether that be we talk on the record or off the record. His direct quote was, quote, "Don't ever call me anymore, and if you call me again, I will have to take some sort of action. This is some sort of harassment, in my opinion." I get it. It's probably fucking aggravating having someone call you abruptly to talk about something you had nothing to do with. But if that were me, and it were my parent in the hot seat, and I felt in my heart that they were innocent, it would be a different scenario for me. Or even if I thought that they were guilty. It makes me question, why does one person have so many depositions with so many people, and they're full of so many lies? The deposition between Tim and, the information on his ex-wife, that could be considered hearsay. Nothing was ever reported. Police reports were never made. But what about another deposition that was done? A deposition where the individual came forward, talked about the abuse, tried to go to the state police, and nothing was ever done. What about that? What about that deposition? And how does Tim Matouk still hold a position of power? How does he still have a job in law enforcement? Why was he never considered a person of interest? From day one of Joann going missing, Tim Matouk was not on the radar of officers and officials. Let me break this down for you and remind you that all the phone records we're going to talk about are from Tim Matouk's personal cell phone, and the records are from January 1st until the end of March of 2010, the same year that Joann would go missing. The problem with this being is we only have 3 months to account for, 3 months of phone records to look at, and that is all that the court would allow the family to subpoena in the lawsuit. I want to make it clear, these are not Tim Matouk's work cell phone records. Who knows what we could have found on there? So just to refresh your memory, all the players involved here are either officers or officials within Grosse Pointe Farms and Grosse Pointe Woods. The Grosse Pointe Farms police at the time had a handful of gentlemen working, And let's refresh your memory. Mike McCarthy, he was the head detective, and he spoke with Tim Matouk on his personal cell phone 5 times. Now we're going to talk about the head detective of Grosse Pointe Woods, Andrew Pazuchowski. This one was crazy. They spoke a total of 21 times. Why would the Grosse Pointe Woods police, who were in charge of Joann's case at the time, speak to the number one person that the family was most concerned about, Tim Matouk? It's weird. A lot of the times that he spoke with Andrew, a call would be made directly to Bill Matouk or the wine store before and after the conversation with Andrew. You're probably wondering, why are these phone records so important? Why do we keep coming back to the conversations that he's having with these people? Where's the pastor? We see all your comments. We see all your messages. We are working as diligently as we can through these phone records. But we're coming across a few roadblocks. And those roadblocks are people that don't want to contact us. They don't want to speak to us. They don't want to get back to us. We don't know if it's because they're in fear of talking, or some of these people no longer have these phone numbers. We are talking about a case that is 14 years old. Times have changed. Technology is different. The capabilities that we have now to be able to find and link a phone number to a name is incredible. But we're still met with some difficulties. So aside from the head detectives of Grosse Pointe Farms and Grosse Pointe Woods being in the phone records, the personal phone records of the number one person of interest, Tim Matouk, what else is there? There's a lot. 100 pages worth of phone records from January to March. We only have 3 months. 3 months of phone records to go through. I think we got lucky. For only having 3 months worth of phone records, we've been able to go through about 100 pages of conversations between January and March. And in some of those conversations, we've been able to notice a pattern, which I've mentioned previously. But we've also noticed a lot of names on here that shouldn't be on a personal phone record. We've got judges, officers, head of law enforcement. We have known cocaine dealers, trucking companies, strip clubs. You name it, it's on here. These phone records are important, not simply because they're just the days leading up to Joann's disappearance, but they're showing the connection between Tim Matouk and the people that he is saying he does not speak with. So I'm calling on all of you. I'm calling on all of you to share this podcast with your friends, family, colleagues. Share it to your social media. Get the word out there. The only way that we can bring justice for Joann is by talking about her case, talking about the missteps, talking about the errors. It's only a police cover-up if we allow it to be one. If we continue to fight and continue to push forward, justice can be served. In the meantime, I want to leave you with a few items. I know you guys have long awaited this podcast episode, and I want you to understand that we are working as much as we can on this case. We are working long hours, long days. We are going through all of the evidence again, all the documentation, all the phone records, interviews, you name it, we're doing it. But I want you to remember one thing. This is a family. This is a family. This is not just a podcast that you are listening to on your drive to work and your drive home. This is not a podcast you're listening to while you're cleaning your house. This is a true story of a Metro Detroit mom who wound up dead and police called it a suicide. On Tuesday at 9 a.m., we are going to be releasing another episode. The episode is going to be talking with Michelle and Kelly, Joann's daughters, and focusing on the phone records. We're going to be talking about the missteps that were taken. We're going to be talking about Joann and the type of woman she was and the things that she talked about in the days leading up to her death. We're going to be talking firsthand with her daughters, the experiences that they had with police officers, the people that were involved in the case, involved in the cover-up. This weekend's going to be hard. Sunday's Mother's Day. Tuesday is her birthday. So in honor of Joann, I would love for everybody to light a candle and share on your story that you were thinking about her, you were thinking about Michelle, you were thinking about Kelly and Michael and all the people who missed Joann. Please tune in Tuesday at 9 a.m.